Hello everyone, I'm Claire Marie B and welcome to my channel. In my video today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I am doing a review of some Ohuhu pens that I want to share with you all. I am so excited to be doing this video. Those of you who've been watching my previous videos of my bullet journal setups know how much I love my coloured pens. The team at Ohuhu asked if they could send me some coloured pens today to share with all of you and talk about my honest review of these. Let me show you what they've sent me and what we're going to be talking about. First of all, I've got some gel ink pens in white ink, silver ink and gold ink. I have some coloured fine line pens, super excited to try those. And I have a nice big box of brush pens. So these are dual brush pens. There's 120. So we're going to check out those colours and review everything today. So let's start by diving into the brush pens. These come in a cellophane wrap, so let's go ahead and take that off and then I can show you exactly what's in the box. As you can tell with me having to open up the cellophane, I haven't opened these up, I haven't pre-tested these pens. Everything that you're seeing is as I open it straight out of the box. Okay, so these are dual brush pens. They are watercolour. Firstly, in the top of the box, there's some replacement nibs, so that's a really cool accessory to have, and an instruction guide on how to change those if you've got a problem. As you can see here, there are a ton of colours. I'm not going to swatch every single colour today for you. I'm sure as much as you want to understand what's in the box, I'm sure your patience would wear thin at that as well. So what we have in the box is this card which you can swatch your own colours, and then also a markers sheet which tells you the colours that are in there as well. So this could be quite a fun activity to sit and do and just swatch your own colours and how you experience those pens. So that's a nice touch that they've included that. Let's go ahead and pick a few colours out of here that I want to try. I am starting to regret having tipped these all over my desk. So let's get these tidied up. I'm going to pop them back in my box and we'll do some swatching of some of the colours that jump out at me. Sometimes the colours can look a little bit different depending on what device you're looking at them through and what the settings of that device are. So let's jump in first of all with this pink. So you can see each pen has a number on it. So we have a brush end, and then on the flip side we have the fine line end. The fine line end is really fine. So let's first of all use the brush end and let's just create a line so you can see the colour. So there's a really nice ink flow that comes out. So these pens are straight out of the box. As I said, I haven't done anything with them. So let's find the corresponding number and mark that off. Okay, so it's darker on the card. You can see the two differences there. So I'm using 160 GSM in my journal. Let's have a go with the fine liner. So as you can see there, it's a really fine nib. So if you're wanting to do journaling in small boxes, etc., those fine nibs are going to work really well for that. So having a look at their colour chart, you can see that's the colour for them, which is number 6. That's what it looks like on the card, and that's what it looks like in my book. So I think there is a real difference in there in terms of what it looks like. The card, I've noticed, the ink does bleed on the card. It's quite a thick card and not necessarily similar to what I would use this for in a journal. So this is the next colour. You may not be able to see very well on my book, but these are two very different colours. And when I compare them on the chart, they're very different as well. But actually in my book, they're probably coming through to you as quite similar over the video. And that is the case. It's a very subtle difference. But again, the card holds the colour deeper than my journal, which again clearly shows the difference of the papers that we're using. I love this blue colour. So let's swatch that up on the card as well. So you can see there's so many colours in this set. There's 120 colours, which is really a really good amount of colours and reasonable for what you're getting for the price. These are exceptionally good value pens, I think, especially as I'm using them and I'm seeing just how much the ink flow is so even on these pens. I've got no bleeding through on my papers, which is super important to me when I'm picking what pens I'm using. Let's go ahead and use the fawn colour. So on the card, you can see that comes out quite strong. In my journal, it's really pale. You can really see the difference between the card and my journal paper. So it's just something to bear in mind. And I'm listing all the colours out as well for you, so that if you're wondering which ones I've been trying or there's any in there that you particularly like, you can easily see which colour it is that I'm using. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave a comment and ask your questions on any of the colours. I have to say as well, these pens, as I'm using them, they're really easy to hold. There's a real smoothness about them that I'm liking. So there we go, I've swatched all of those colours. So to summarise the positives for me, certainly the array of colours, they're excellent. The ink flow is really great, it's not too wet, they dry really easily. The fine nib is really excellent for small writing. It's easy to keep control of the pen. Where I would struggle is going really fine with the brush pen, but I generally don't tend to do that anyway. Let's have a go at doing a little bit of brush lettering, which needs a lot of improvement of mine, as we all know. But let's have a go with these. So I haven't practiced with these before, so you can tell I'm going to need a bit more practice. But I really like the look and the ink flow on those. The ink is just drying so fast, and it's very even. There's no bleeding at all, which I know is more the paper than it is the pen, but sometimes with certain inks they can just be a bit more keen to bleed and ghost than others. For me, I think the colour chart provided is a really great idea, but I'm not sure it's super accurate when I use it against the card swatch or then my paper. It's great that they've put it in, but it's so different for my notebook that I don't think I would use the swatch to pick the colours I want to use. I would do it based on the pen lids, and I think I would then probably, for a bit of fun, swatch in my journal myself. Okay, let's check out the coloured Fineline pens. So this is super exciting. I use Fineline pens to sketch out all of my different prints, designs and art in my journal every single month. But what I don't do is the coloured Fineline pens. I don't know why, actually. I'm a big fan of colours. I stick to one colour pen through the whole of my bullet journal. There's a great array of sizes on here for the black ink pens, and then all of the coloured pens are exactly the same size. So let's go ahead and grab one of the 005. I'm trying to hold this up so you can see exactly how fine that is. It's exceptionally fine. It is definitely a 005 in size. So let me show you how this writes. As you can see, that's super, super fine. So it's definitely finer than the dual brush pens, the fine nib on there. Let's pick a middle range size now and have a look at this. And then finally, let's have a look at the difference of the 08. So you can see there's a really big difference between those three. It's a great ink, again, easy to hold pens, and that ink is flowing really easily. These are waterproof pens, so let's try that out by taking the water-based markers and let's put some colour over the top of these inks and see if it runs at all. So that's at the 005 and there's the 008. So there's definitely no movement. I checked the nib. There doesn't seem to be any ink transfer from one to the other. They're the key things that I'm looking for when I'm going to use these pens to check the quality and how I want to use them in my journal. Because for me, there's nothing worse if I've drawn something out and then all of a sudden the ink starts to run everywhere. So in this set, you also get a brush pen. So let's have a go at this brush pen. So hopefully you can see that as I'm writing January, it improves, my lettering improves towards the end of the word as opposed to the start as I'm getting used to the pen. But I really like this pen. I would definitely use it again. Let's try my name. I'm sure I can write my brush lettering better than this. I'm definitely more comfortable with this pen at a larger lettering size. The brush nib moves really easily, so you don't need to put lots of pressure on to get that brush action. So this could be one, it is one you're going to need a bit of control. Let's have a look at the coloured fine liners and write with those. I have to say these fine liners are an absolute delight. That is the word I would use for them, a delight. I'm really enjoying using these pens. They're certainly making me want to use these in my bullet journal across the month, and when I'm doing a monthly theme, picking one of these colours that matches, because they're really nice. I just want to sit and write with these, and that's the mark of a good pen if you want to sit and write with it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and swatch each of these colours for you so that you can have a look at exactly what colours you're getting in this set. So in summary, the fine liners, I really like those. I'm definitely going to be using those in the future. I think the colours are great. There's a really nice assortment, and yeah, I think they're an absolute delight to write with. Let's move on to the last set of pens in the package. So these are the gel ink pens. So let's check out what we're getting in here. It's not clear. I've skipped without reading the actual wrapper, so you know it probably does say in there what sizes are in there. I'm not sure if these are all the same size or if they're going to be different sizes, so let's check it out. Okay, so that's where probably it would say a size. Okay, so these are definitely all the same size. So in this multi-pack, you're getting the same size of pens, so you've got a nice stash to be able to keep there. See, the first thing that I use them for often is to cover over if I've drawn an extra line or an extra bit. So I'm going to try these white gel pens. They're not marketed as being a whiteout or anything like that. They're not marketed for that. It's just I like to use a white ink pen for that reason. So we'll have a test and see what happens with that. I'm going to leave that to dry. Often I have to do a couple of coats, no matter what type of pen, no matter what brand of pen I'm using. So now let's have a look at the white ink pen on blackout paper. I haven't tested these pens, so they're literally out of the packet. So it's completely expected that there's going to need to be a little bit of squiggling first to get the ink running through the pen. This is working really nicely. There's a good ink flow. I generally tend to find with white ink pens, it's clearly the ink. There's just something with it where the inks don't ever flow quite as easily as other pens. So as you can see here, mine, it's going thicker and faded. This is something I would expect. So if you get any of these pens and this is happening, it's generally what I find happens with white ink pens. So I don't see this. It is frustrating sometimes that it's not flowing as easily as other pens, but this isn't something that is unique to Ohuhu. It's every white ink pen that I've ever used. Okay, let's jump in the silver. Okay, this one is immediately flowing really well, the ink. So I'm creating the same test conditions for all pens so that we know that it's a fair battle, the battle of the pens. So the silver ink, I'm really liking this pen. I actually think if I was writing on blackout, I would probably use the silver over the white. I think this is really nice. Let me hold this up and see if we can get some sheen on there, because there is a nice sheen to it as well. Generally, I find the silver and gold, I love using silver and gold. I love metallics, but if ever I do them in my journal and do any filming with it, they just don't show up quite the same. So I am expecting that you're not going to see the inks quite as well as I would want you to, and the glitter when I'm showing you this. That unfortunately, that's just one of those things and that's why I tend to stay away from using gold and things in my journal. So this pen, I can see straight away, it just needs a little bit of time to come through the ink. It started off really well, but let's just get that ink going again. I really like the shade of gold on this. It's more subtle. It's not quite in your face and super yellow and what I would call tinny. So I really like the shade of this, and I will probably use this gold to do some little accents at times on my pages, which might not even then fully show up on my YouTube videos, but will show up for me in my journal. As I say, when I use some other gold colours before, it can look very yellow on the page, so it doesn't come out looking like I would want it to. Let's have a look at all three pens on craft paper. I love craft paper, so let's see what the three pens come out like on the craft paper. So here we go first with the white ink pen. There's just something about white ink pens and craft paper that I really love. And that's working really well on this craft paper. Let's have a look at the silver. So as you can see, perfectly normal for the pens to need a little bit of time, and you may have to go over them a couple of times. This is very standard for these sorts of ink pens. The silver is a really good ink, but I think that looks better on the blackout pages. So a tip for myself, it'll definitely be on the darker pages that I use that in future. The gold is showing up well on the craft paper. It is a really nice subtle gold. It just doesn't stand out quite as much as the white ink or the silver ink on either of the pages, which is understandable. Let's go ahead and just colour in a couple of blocks. And let's see if I can get this on the black ink paper to show you, because I think there may be a little bit of a disservice being done by either A, shadow, or B, light, or it's just doesn't quite come through as much, but hopefully you can see that a bit better and see the sheen now that's happening on there. Let's colour in a couple of the boxes so you can see what these would sketch like. So this is probably how I would use this gold pen. So you can see there's almost like a coppery tone. It's a really classy gold compared to other golds that I've used before. And if we go back to the two cover-up jobs that I did, you can see that the white ink pen has really, it has done the job that I would want it to do, and it's provided a nice cover over both of those. If you're interested in any of the products that I'm testing today, I popped a link in the description section of this video, so you can check out their website and the other pens that they do. The white ink pens, this is something that I always carry one of these in my pencil case, because I know that I might make a little error that I can cover over. And certainly the white ink pen has done a good job with that in my journal. I would also use it on the blackout pages or on the craft pages. The silver, I really love the silver on the black. It's a really nice bright silver ink pen, and the gold, very subtle, a nice tone to it that's, as I said, almost got coppery undertones and yeah, a sort of a darker sheen to it, which is really nice. Obviously the gold and silver, not quite as good on the craft paper, but I'm sure some of my other coloured papers, they'll work really well. So thanks so much for Team Ohuhu sharing these with us today so that I can bring you this video and look at their products. Hopefully it's provided you with some insight into these pens and what might be good for your journaling. They are definitely great value for money is what I would say. I loved the fine line coloured pens in particular, and of course the massive box of the dual brush pens. If you're starting out in journaling, or you're thinking, look, I really need to branch out my pen collection, I would certainly be looking at adding Ohuhu to that in terms of value for money. As I said before, the ink flow, the quality of the pen and what you're getting, I think is really, really great. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for joining me today. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed my video, and don't forget to turn on those notifications so that you'll be told when I release future content. I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!